everyone, welcome to the course on digital media. Today in this session we are going to discuss representations and diversity in cyberspace. First of all, we need to understand what is representation and what is presentation. So, media representations are the mediated presentation of social realities. We see that there remains the third party to tell you about the events, the social realities from their perspective. So, we see that those most of the time end up in becoming authoritative or one-way communication and having very perspectival content. Then we see that media content represents the social aspects on the basis of formed narratives. So, if you look at the news or the picture or say a film, you will find that those tell narrative, and narratives are always structured. But when you look at any event, those are not structured, but contextual in understanding. So, we have to understand that difference when we look at the representations. So, we see the binaries in representations. We see that one sector of the society has been depicted in good pictures, the other bad or something like that. So, those are narrativized in that sense. Then we make meaning of the world though on the very basis of those representations as given in the media texts. So, that is how our perceptions build and sometimes reframed. So, we see the world view through these representations, and that is why it is important to understand the representation given on media and how it is forming the realities in your mind of the realities as exists in society. So, we need to understand that. So, now if we look at the internet, on internet we find that presentations are more or less self presentation. Okay, so they become a part of media text there. Now, what do we mean by self presentation? You will find blogs, you will find pictures, you will find videos, small or say with longer durations. Here you see that those are the stories of individuals, but the way you are looking it provides that generalization to it. So, you build your perception about the class, the section, the society on the basis of the individuals you actually or the individuals who come across on internet in the network, society or that arena. Okay, so you see their presentation to be the representation of the society or community, and we see it as a part of public text, that is self presentation makes a general presentation or say general representation that way. So, overall acceptance of the others in terms of the marginalization remains in question, whether those individuals or say those societies could be given as they are there. So, we see those realities of representation that way. So, here we are in this section going to understand or we are going to take up certain questions such as what are the conventions when it comes to the understanding of representation, what are the unconventional forms when it comes to the representation on the internet, then are the unconventional really new, that is another question, and are the unconventional representative enough, are we getting room on the internet when it comes to the voices of the marginalized sections. So, let us begin. So, we see when it comes to representation and the conventional practices, we see these are stereotypic, like you get a very general representation and very stereotyped representation of one class, one caste, or say one race. For example, we see that through stereotyping, the same general standardized representation come again and again into the picture, and it builds our worldview or say perception about that particular segment of society. Then we see there are certain processes again in terms of priming and framing, how we are framing, how we are actually, if you see the media practices, the camera angle, the story, the way it is written in terms of inverted pyramid style, what question it brings to the fore, and it would be just one perspective. If you look at the news stories, if you look at the pictures, again any content for that matter, you will find that it has been framed from one angle or perspective to look at it. Maybe if you look at it from the other perspective, the story would be totally different. Okay, so we need to understand those framing issues and priming, particularly when it comes to news, be it electronic media or print media. We see that the place given to the story makes a difference, because you attach the value of importance if you see the story at the top, or you actually lesser that importance if you see the story on say 6th page or 7th page of the broadsheet newspaper. Similarly, if a story is coming in the end of the bulletin, you pay less attention to it. So, it has that tendency of having with the attachment of say importance, and that is how attraction. So, again narrativizing, we have just talked about narrativizing, and we understand it is related to again somewhere giving to give a perspective to the total event. So, we do not cover the total event, but we just look the portion of the event from that perspective and othering. So, if you are including one perspective, we are going to lose the discourse about the other perspective. So, again othering, us and them, and labeling in the same manner. So, moving on the unconventional forms and the inclusion, we see that frames of understanding are built upon the mainstream media and the dominant frame as excluding or misrepresenting the marginalized, while the internet and the alternative frame is inclusive, diversifying the representation of the marginalized that way. So, what are these unconventional forms? Here we first of all we need to understand how unconventional they are. So, internet provides free platform to all for publishing in global environment. So, if your letter to editor is not included in one newspaper edition, no worry, you have internet to the rescue. You may write blogs, you may write posts, and you may publish that. Text publishing, that content publishing is available online. So, it is a platform of non-formal innovative forms of communication in public mediated realm. GIF, small micro blogging. So, there are unlimited ways. You go for video blogging for that matter. Okay, so you may include audio clips, you may include video clips, you may go for texting, you may go for making sketch and putting it on the online platform. So, there are various forms, innovative ways to tell your stories, tell your issues, and tell your needs to the world. So, also it bridges up the gap between the mainstream and marginalized in that manner. So, however, there is another question: does it guarantee the marginalized voices, and is it open to the isn't it open to the manipulated representations, especially in absence of the fact checking tool? So, we need to understand that. We have already talked about this in our earlier session when we were talking about the questions of anonymity and how this platform is used for say propaganda and manipulation. So, we need to be very careful about these issues. Otherwise, inclusivity will remain in question. So, we have unconventional forms like animation on digital medium. Animation provides the freedom of creativity and experiment for inclusion of wider perspectives. So, we see stories when especially when it comes to the drawings and pictures, it remains attractive. It belongs to each and every age group, each and every class and caste, or every segment, and moreover you will notice more silence stories, silence content. Silence means where there is no boundaries of languages have been attached to the content. So, that way those are very powerful medium to talk about when it comes to animated content. So, the power of animation lies in the fact that it calls for the total attention of the viewer. It hence impacts their sensibility immensely. Recently, with the use of 2D, 3D computer animation, we see filmmakers have been experimenting with unconventional plots to touch upon the lives of the marginalized with individual narratives. So, here goes the story. Then we also see gaming is very powerful and creative medium or say form of unconventional form when it comes to communicating, educating and sensitizing society. So, you may have a story, you may have the achievements in terms of what you are going to do and you also include processes to reach to that level. So, in that sense be creative and create those games which could be beneficial for the marginalized sections to be inclusive in society. So, the narrative construct based on technology and social structures, symbolically they relate to the experiences of the real time and space. We have just talked about that. Carefully designed gaming ecosystems have the potential to make information generation and communication democratic and inclusive that way. But again, a point of caution, we need to make more games, we need to be consistent, we need to attractive in our content formation or production of content when it comes to the gaming. Otherwise, we see that how harmful it sometimes becomes for society when we see violence and all the games which impact psychology particularly of youth. So, we have those examples too, but if we leave that negativity, if we leave that or we take the challenge of those negativity, if we mitigate that negativity, we can use the similar technology for productive benefits in the society. So, there are other unconventional forms. We have already talked about blogs for that matter, and here comes the memes. Now, memes is another creative way which actually uses sarcasm towards realization of the problems. So, we have seen that user driven imitation and remixing practices with the outcome of memes take place. The stimulating ecosystems called audiences for immersion, and therefore are an effective medium to highlight the conditions, issues concerning the marginalized. You actually when you look at meme, you may start with laughing at it, but you end up in thinking about the issues, and that is what memes do to you. So, now we are going to understand the language of internet and how media processes actually look for your engagement, but again a careful engagement. If you are not careful in your selection of content, and if you are not using it for benefits, you will end up in just becoming the audiences for the internet based content, as you were for the conventional mediums. Okay, so we have to understand those theoretical processes too. So in that sense, we see simulacra at work, where we see that representations are given through filters. So you think that it is the reality, but it is not the reality of the society, and we see that internet then as a site of multiple social realities. So we if we look at the theories given by Stuart Hall or say Baudrillard in terms of postmodernity, and how the content is given with very rapid or say very short lived content you see on internet, but it is how you are looking at it. So in terms of Stuart Hall, you read it differently. So it's totally up to you. You do understand the media that way. You have those skills towards media literacy to look at the content and representations there, and then decide upon how to use that content. Okay, so that is how you have to look for the language and understand the language of internet. So again, we have similar processes of media representations when we see the internet. For that, so we have already discussed framing and priming, labeling and stereotyping, delegitimizing and exnomination, where we see that some sections of the society or individuals are included while the other are excluded through filters. Then we also know about say intertextuality with cross references of the conventions and visual styles in the media content. Again, the language of internet based media as well. So we need to careful about looking at the content. We should not get carried away whatever is given to us, but we have to be clever that way, or say intelligent that way. So again, when it comes to the understanding of the language of internet, we see that most of the internet creates the part of discourse as supplement or complementary to the mainstream content, and here we are coming to the difference from the conventional medium or and forms and practices. Okay, so here we see that someone is posting some material, and then we see an array of responses come in. So here responses itself become a part of that content. So we have to look into what if those responses are just praising the content, or those are becoming critical in the analysis of the post or the content given, and in doing so, are they raising the voice of marginalized or not. Okay, so that is how we are looking into the question whether we are getting that diversity in cyberspace or not. So then impact on say SNS, that is social media sites or social networking sites, is counted on two-way factors, that is speed and engagement time. So if you the actual viewership, the actual engagement time and speeds, those are related issues. So sometimes we see again the question of Wi-Fi or say spectrum comes in here, which we discussed in the last section. So here we see that it matters again in terms of digital divide and how you are engaging in terms of attraction related to the content. So we need to be again skillful to create that kind of content that could attract people and consistency remains there. So that is again very important, and there we see that sometimes marginalized sections lack to raise their voice in absence of those skills which are needed them to be engaged, to be participatory towards coming to the mainstreams. Then we see the medium transforms representations into the post representation state, and here we see that again medium becomes important than the representations, and immersion of this type establishes dominance of medium over the message. So if you are looking for example, if you are using mobile phone, you are using it just for the sake of it, you would be consuming whatever content you are getting in. For example, again games or say the content which is given to you, but if you are not being selective in your process, you will end up by being the consumer for the internet based medium, and you will not be the consumer of the same. Okay, so try to understand that. Then we see there are machine driven languages too and programs to assess the representation, what kind of representation it is there. So we have certain softwares, we have certain programs, and we see that earlier it was based on the quantitative assessment, but now we are moving on the quality of the content as well. So this is again a positive step towards bringing marginalized into the mainstream and creating the real diversity based cyberspace. So once you look into the quality assessment, we can actually look into the vacuums, and we can fill those vacuums by asking for those quality content when it comes to the questions and needs of marginalized. So there are qualitative data analysis softwares which are being developed and available now. So we move on to those to when it comes to the various processes, like say we go for likes, shares, viral videos. So we are not going to look into just the quantity that way, but also what kind of content it is. Is it making the need to be fulfilled or not? So here we see that how in this particular section we are going to talk about internet and marginalized, and where do we locate the diversity. So we see that representation on internet involves need based consumption and creation of representations, self presentation and representation, we have talked about that. Then we also going to see into the participation through user friendly technology interface that includes the state, marginalized sections and the other stakeholders. So we see that those are linked through or linked in the network of on internet, and we see that those are working towards not only the representation but fruitfully for the inclusion of the society, society's marginalized sections. So that way we see that online representations work for free access to expansion and information, then better access to governance. So these are two key component key parts of the representation when we see to it in terms of these stakeholders taking place in society. Then in terms of representation, let us take how these stakeholders are playing their part, are playing a role in the inclusiveness of the society, or say in the process of inclusion of the marginalized sections. So, here we will take first of all use of internet by the states, and we will see their content for representation. Here we see that they are using it to reach and represent the marginalized sections, for dissemination of need based content, and to promote governance, particularly e-governance. Here we are going to look for two particular cases. One would be assessment of website of Ministry of Women and Child Development, and the other one would be the website of Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, both working for and particularly dedicated towards the marginalized sections of the society that way. And we let us have a look on the website and see what they are doing for the marginalized sections when it comes to the inclusion on internet or internet driven practices towards inclusion. So, if we look at the website, we find that there are multimedia based content. We see YouTube videos depicting stories of women empowerment and voice of children. So, they tell their own story again in terms of you can look for the same thing for generalization in terms of self presentation and representation that way. There are promotional videos which are very much needed if we really look into the questions of governance, if we look into the questions of economic benefits to the marginalized segments of the society. So, here we have those promotional videos for awareness towards various government schemes, content, well accessible content is there, especially also to the visually impaired. So, that way the website is looking towards the particular needs of the marginalized sections, and they are thinking about those marginalized sections and how to link internet based content to with those marginalized section is taken care of. So, visitors analytics is also shared on the website, so that you can make your own assessment about the linkages between the marginalized and mainstreams. So, but one thing that we found lacking in the website was a two-way consistent communication, or say spontaneous communication in terms of feedback. So, the content is a single way platform, and feedback can be given only through email. So, that the website lacks in a two-way kind of communication there. Now, moving on to the media of social justice and empowerment, and the website of the same. Here we see that visual representation of the beneficiaries of various schemes are sharing their stories. Then we see content of constitutional provisions and sector overview for awareness on exercising of civil rights, which is very much important when it comes to the understanding of marginalized sections and how they could be participative. So, unless until they enjoy their civil rights, their political rights, and which have an attachment with the economic benefits too. So, we see that in the total arena of socio-political cultural sphere, we see these rights important, and we see that ample awareness is being imparted on the website that way. So, we see easy access to various schemes. So, then community engagement on internet for social change in online editions of community media is also taking place. So, it is enlarging it is actually widening the scope for marginalized to be mainstream when they raise their voices on the community media, and it is reaching beyond those community boundaries. So, this is very important there to understand. So, here we have examples of the newspaper Khabar Lehriya, which is published by rural communities of Bundelkhand. It is also published on portal in a multimedia platform including YouTube videos. This is being widely appreciated for being an alternative voice, sensitizing and mainstreaming the people that way. And the important work which is actually carried out by Sangwari Khabariya, that is another community initiative which has been initiated by UNICEF, and here we see that children in the age group of say 15 to 18 years from the marginalized tribal communities of northern Chhattisgarh are coming up. They are they are producing video content and they are putting it on YouTube to sensitize the society towards their need. Similarly, Upkram is an initiative of segment coming from NGO which are actually which is trying to mitigate the divide between mainstream and marginalized. They are bringing the marginalized section to the mainstream through using internet as a strong medium. So, they are telling the stories, they are working for education of the marginalized society of Sonbhat district of Uttar Pradesh, and those stories are told then on various social media sites. So, this is how we are looking at the practices which are actually creating the diversity in the cyberspace that way. And we also have certain examples like Goner village from Rajasthan, where we see that community, the rural community is being sensitized in terms of individual consumption, and also at panchayat level they are coming up and they are sharing their issues, their concerns with the governments, with the authorities, and they are well connected with e-governance platforms that way. So, there are other examples like Akshay E-Center, and there are other examples like Ek Step, where we see that initiatives for self-learning and bridging up the gap through internet, where people are going for digital media literacy is taking place, so that they may well connect with the mainstreaming. With that, we would be concluding the session. In this session, we learned that about the concepts of representation and presentations. We traced the unconventional forms of new media such as blogs, microblogs, animation, and also like memes. We also discussed the language and meaning making process in relation to the text on internet. We briefly looked at the good practices from various parts of the India. Also, we critically examined the internet content to assess the representation of the marginalized. So, to sum up, we can say that the internet provides the interface to the users to participate in the process of inclusion. So, with that, we would be ending up our session on internet and marginalized sections. I hope it is going to make a change in your life, and you are going to make a change in society. With that, thank you so much.